Welcome into another video, and boys, we have made it. A long fantasy season, and we are finally in championship weekend. I went 0 for 2 this week, so I have no games being played. I know Lucas has at least one game being played this weekend. Ryan, how about you?
No, I did not make it. We might have made it, but I did not.
Well said. Well said.
Lucas, give a little insight. Just a little insight. You excited?
Oh, I'm excited because championship weekend here, I guess semifinal weekend here. I'm on the verge of breaking the scoring record heading into the championship. So if Kittle puts up 5 more points, I'll have the most points scored in any week this year. That'll feel real good going into that championship. Was unfortunate not to see Will there. Would have been a heck of a battle until, the other half of my team played, and then it would have been a blowout. But I got 1% chance of making the championship in my other current matchup that's going on. If the 49ers put up like 30 plus points and the Colts don't get a sack or a turnover, I'm there, baby. I don't have a quarterback on my active roster that has an ACL, and just lost DK Metcalf to a 2-game suspension, though. So that one's looking a little dim.
Yeah, you would be taking my scoring record as well, so it's twice the pain. You take my scoring. This guy's over here talking right now like he didn't lose or win by .7 2 weeks ago to advance the semifinals.
I won.
Fucking no DK catch, no Boswell extra point, and nothing. It was nuts. But he is dominating right now, Puka and JSN. He looks to be the favorite to win the championship. But let's go ahead and get into it. Studs and duds time, boys. And we'll look at last week's numbers. We didn't have Lucas last week. Not great. Not good at all. I don't know if you should be watching. If you click out of this video, I kind of understand. But you can see the previous week, I went 8 for 8 on my studs and duds. Okay, I had a bad week this week, but 8 for 8. That's overall. If Purdy goes out there and puts up a good performance, that's overall like 10 for 16, which a little bit above 50%. Not bad. Ryan also on the verge of maybe going 50-50, but he went 6 for 8 as well last week. Lucas as well went 6 for 8 the previous week. So I think we're going to be all right. Now that we got the band back together, I think we're going to go out there and have another money week. Let's kick it off with your quarterbacks, Ryan. Your stud quarterback of the week is the kid, Caleb Williams of the Chicago Bears. And your dud is Justin Herbert, coming off a massive week against the Dallas Cowboys. Let's hear your 2 cents on that.
Let's go. Yeah. Left our guy for the championship week. Couldn't think of a better week to finally pick Caleb Williams as our stud. I think he's turned a corner here. Like, just having a feeling, just watching those last 2 games, specifically the Cleveland one, he came out, looked really, really poised, really calm, made some really great throws against tough defense and tough weather. And then I think last week, maybe he didn't start off great, but I never thought he was playing poorly. And then obviously we all know what happened in the second half in overtime. So, I mean, he's coming off, like his confidence has got to be at an all-time high right now. And then going into next week, it's another primetime game. Another big game with a lot of things on the line. The Bears are fighting for that 1 seed. They're fighting for the division. And then the San Francisco defense, I mean, it's just a really, really poor, really injured unit. I mean, they're 23rd against fantasy quarterbacks, but the most shocking thing that I thought was that their lead sack guy is Clelin Ferrell, the bust from the Oakland Raiders, and he only has 4 sacks. So that's kind of incredible. They're last in the NFL with 16 total sacks this year. And just for context, the next worst has 25 sacks. So that's horrible. That's 1 per game, if even. That's like on par. That's kind of similar to the Jets stat where they have 0 interceptions this year. I mean, It's just like, it's unfathomable how bad some of these, numbers are for some of these defenses this year. And yeah, I mean, I think it's just going to be a coming out party for Caleb after grinding through some really tough weather games, some really tough defenses with Cleveland and Green Bay. And now he gets a really easy, nice weather San Francisco pass rush. I think it's going to be a really big breakout. I expect Luther Burden to be back as well, so that'll help the Bears receiving core. Yeah, I think we're going to see a 30-pointer from Caleb here.
Oh, I love it. I love that energy. Hold on, let me ask you 2 quick things. One, I just guessed one quick thing. Who is that second team with 25 sacks? Was it the Bears?
No, it's Carolina, which is kind of surprising because I thought they had a good defense, but guess not.
We're back. Oh yeah, clear skies. It's going to be like 55 for the game day. That's just like, sounds like Caleb Williams, 3 touchdowns and 30.
I love that. Yeah. And then let's go with the dud. We're going Justin Herbert. And this is kind of the exact opposite of San Francisco's defense. I mean, this team wreaks havoc with their pass rush. I mean, they are third in the NFL in takeaways. We all know about Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, some really good interior D linemen too. And then the Chargers just have an atrocious offensive line. I think at basically any metric you look at, the Chargers are ranked last in all offensive line metrics. So I expect Houston to kind of wreak havoc. It's kind of a nightmare matchup for the Chargers. Justin Herbert's playing injured already. We know there's no Joe Alt, no Rashawn Slater. So yeah, Houston's already second in opposing fantasy quarterback points per game. So I don't think this is going to be a good matchup for Justin Herbert. We saw what they did to Josh Allen. He had 2 interceptions, 8 sacks in that primetime matchup. I expect something similar from Justin Herbert, which would make him a dud this week.
Yeah, I feel like that checks out big time, especially just coming off this high against the Dallas Cowboys. You know, I feel like these looks are going to be I feel like when you're playing the Dallas Cowboys, you get these like very basic looks and like this basic Matt Eberflus scheme with not that great of a defense, and you just light them up, and then, you know, you're feeling hot, and then you go out there and you've got DeMeco Ryans and an insane defensive unit. It just throws off your whole equilibrium. Love it. Next, Lucas, you're up. You are rolling with Jackson Dart coming off a career low, 0.35 points. Maybe you're playing to the projections here, trying to get to that perfect score, but a horrible game from Jackson Dart. But that is your stud, and then dud CJ Stroud. Give me some insight.
I'll start with the dud because I think a lot of what Ryan just said about Justin Herbert's going to apply to CJ Stroud here as well. I think for Ryan's sake, Justin Herbert is at least, you know, a high-scoring fantasy quarterback. CJ Stroud just doesn't have like the total touchdown numbers, the total yardage numbers, or any, you know, big rushing numbers to be like an elite fantasy scoring quarterback. And, you know, they're going against pretty similar defenses, not in the same ways necessarily. Like the Chargers don't have as elite of a pass rush as Houston does, but when we look at fantasy points against quarterbacks, Chargers are that number 1 team. So I just don't expect this to be a huge high-scoring game with the quality of defenses that both teams are playing, and, you know, less possessions, less opportunity to actually put up numbers there. I think this one's going to be a good game, but not a high-scoring game. So similar spiel, I'll say, to Ryan's explanation there for Justin Herbert. But the stud is who I'm excited about. And I think it's interesting getting into championship weekend because a lot of games go one of two ways. Or I guess I should say a lot of the kind of meaningless games. If you look at the matchup, you got the Giants versus the Raiders, 2 worst teams in the NFL right now. And when you get those 2 teams that aren't in the playoffs, like I said, they kind of go one of two ways. First is no one gives a shit. They're both trying to lose, and like it's completely fantasy irrelevant. You don't want to play anyone within those games because people might get pulled. They might not play the full game, you know, and if they are out there, they're probably just trying to stay healthy and make it to the end of the season. And then you get games where you have guys like Jackson Dart. And I just don't see either team, to be honest. Maybe the Raiders might benefit from it a little bit more just because they're in a deeper hole, it feels like. But I don't see these Giants as the type of team that is going to, you know, try any less or play any less hard with the chance of potentially getting that top pick. Like, I think if anything, they probably want to stick it to ownership and, you know, maybe not stick it to ownership, but they want to win this game. And Jackson Dart is going to want to win this game. So it's a bad Raiders team that they're going against. I think there will be plenty of points scored. And I think Jackson Dart is, you know, going to go out there and show that he is the guy going into next year, which I don't think there's too much of a doubt, but this is a great opportunity to have a nice lasting impression on the fan base.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, though. I feel like, you know, with the injuries he's had and the in and outs and them being in the potential of drafting Fernando Mendoza, just being in the talks of it, like, I feel like he's got to have a little chip on his shoulder with these last 2 weeks. So I love the mentality that, and, you know, I know Stroud and the Texans didn't really have that hot of a game against the Raiders defense yesterday, but Jackson Dart's legs, I feel like, could really get put to work in this one big time. I like the pick there. And I like the Stroud pick as well.
Yeah, Stroud was like the next guy I was looking at, obviously in that same matchup. Like you said, I think it's going to be extremely low scoring just because of what's at stake. Like, neither team is going to be packing it in like you said with the Raiders or Giants. Like, this is for big playoff implications.
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's get into my guys. My stud of championship weekend, Trevor Lawrence, and my dud, Bo Nix. T-Law was my dud last week. He's my stud this week. I feel like it's as simple as this. This is a guy who's probably got you in the championship right now if you're playing him. You got to ride that hot hand. I mean, I don't know, outside of maybe Matt Stafford, is there a hotter quarterback in football right now? I mean, what he did to that Denver defense was phenomenal. He's put up 81 points in the fantasy playoffs so far. Before that, over his previous 3 games, he was still averaging 22 points per game. He seems like he's really turned a corner and really starting to learn this Liam Cohen offense and running it to the fullest. He's hot. It's as simple as that. That's all it is, really. And they're playing the Colts. I think he can light up the Colts. I'm not worried about that in any way, shape, or form. I think he goes out there and he balls. He stays hot. This is not something that they're going to want to slow down. They're chasing the 1 seed. They're trying to stay consistent, go out there and win a playoff game, turn the franchise around. I think he goes out there and he balls. And then Bo Nix, as simple as this. I think it's going to be completely game script. They're the Chiefs are going to be trotting out Shane Buechele or Olakudun. Oladokun. Buechele or Oladokun. That's who the Chiefs are going to be tried out at quarterback. Yeah, I don't see Bo Nix needing to do much. That's as simple as that. I don't think he's going to have to go out there, and I think this is maybe like, let's keep our guys protected. We're going to win like 20-3 if the Chiefs can even score that against this Denver defense. They're in the driver's seat right now. I know the Chargers could win out and still win the division, but they got the Chargers next week. It's going to be a massive game. Very well could be the game that gets flexed to Sunday Night Football next week. You're going to want to have your guys ready for that one. I'm not saying they're going to roll over, but I just don't think that Bo Nix is going to have to do anything. I don't. And they just lost Pat Bryant as well. It's a weapon down. Hand the ball off to RJ Harvey, and it's as simple as that to me.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, it's funny how much of this is also like game script. It's not even just matchup, right? Because, I mean, in theory, if Patrick Mahomes never gets hurt, Bo Nix is probably a fine play. Like if it's a close game, high scoring. But yeah, just because of the game script, Denver's defense against trash practice squad players, there's going to be no need for Bo Nix to do anything, like you said.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. We're getting into the running backs. Ryan, your running backs. Jaylen Warren. We got some interesting ones. Pay attention to these. You're rolling with Jaylen Warren as your stud and Breece Hall as your dud. And don't think you need to dive too much into Breece Hall, but I'll let you.
Yeah, so for Jaylen Warren to start, I mean, this Cleveland Browns run defense has been atrocious the last couple of weeks. I mean, we saw it with the Bears, what DeAndre Swift did against them, and then last week with James Cook. I think Jaylen Warren just had his breakout game. If, he was already a really good player, but he definitely showed big play potential, how high ceiling of a play he can be against Detroit this last week with those 2 big rushing touchdowns. So I feel really good about him. It's another one of those game scripts where I think Pittsburgh needs to win this game, and they're going to do whatever they can to win. And with DK Metcalf's suspension, especially, I think that's going to make it so they really aren't going to pass the ball at all. I mean, we know Myles Garrett's coming for that sack record. Our wide receiver 1 is who? I mean, Calvin Austin, Adam Thielen, right? So it's like, we're not going to be putting the ball in the air at all. Aaron Rodgers is old. I wouldn't say he's washed up, but he definitely doesn't have the escapability he used to have to evade guys like a Myles Garrett. So I expect him to just pound the rock out, and Jaylen Warren's going to be a 20-plus carry guy this week, and probably also give you some receiving upside just on these check downs that Pittsburgh will need to do because they don't have any actual receivers. And then moving to the dud, like you said, not that hard to explain. I think the Jets' offense is in a terrible shape with Brady Cook as their quarterback. I mean, typically with like these quarterbacks that aren't very explosive or don't have much athleticism of themselves, they usually utilize the check down quite a bit, but Brady Cook doesn't even do that. So Breece Hall doesn't give you much receiving upside. He's not going to give you much rushing upside. There's going to be no chance of a touchdown probably. So I just don't like this play at all. I think Breece Hall's looking at his impending free agency and is really just trying to make it out of this season healthy, so he doesn't have to, rehab some major knee injury. Instead, just, make some business decisions and get out of this season and get out of this franchise, to be honest.
Yeah.
Seriously, I mean, it's a nightmare. Has he even scored over 10 points in his last 3 games? I was looking at it and I was like, he's not doing anything. He's totally making business decisions. It's don't even put him in the lineup, in my opinion, at this point. Like it sucks because that is probably a player that you're relying on come this time. But odds are, if you're at this point in the season and you have Breece Hall in your lineup, you're probably not in the championship game. But if you are,
I didn't even talk about
Just
the
know-
matchup either. New England's top 5 against running backs, so just throw that in there.
Just know that you guys had him much higher in those running back rankings than this guy did. No, this was coming all along.
He was
Yeah,
top
wait.
5 in mine, maybe.
Woo.
wait until where he signs. You're gonna see the real Breece Hall.
The Chiefs.
I think I had him the highest. I think I had him a click above you, Ryan. I think I was one step above you. Even I was very, very high on Breece.
But you were
Hall.
high on him because he was on the Jets. I was high on him because I thought he was going to move on from the Jets.
I was, dude. I was a big Tanner Engstrain fan. I just was like, all right, I think this guy's gonna be legit. Like Lions fans and Lions media, they were like so sad about losing him, and I'm like, oh my god, he's Ben Johnson's prodigal son. Like that's his boy. He's gonna get.
That
this
was just a
run
part of their Ben
going.
Johnson hate propaganda from Lions fans. It was all Tanner Engstrand the whole time. You fell for it.
Just hate
We didn't even like him. We wanted him
Yeah.
gone.
We wanted Tanner more. Oh, that's phenomenal. And then Jaylen Warren. It's interesting. We'll get down to that when my guys come up, but we got Lucas's up first. You're rolling with Chase Brown. Remember hearing a lot. Let's go ahead and circle back if we want to circle back the rankings. Remember hearing a lot of Chase Brown hate early on in the season, and then Jonathan Taylor as your dud. Go ahead and explain, Lucas.
It's a temporary thing, man. Don't put too much thought into this one. Chase Brown, he's at the point where it happened last year too. The offense, just clicks during these meaningless games. The receptions go up for Chase Brown. He had a couple of big touchdowns this past week, actually 3 touchdowns this past week. So put up monster numbers here. But then Arizona's defense, man, they're strong in some areas. When you need a wide receiver to put up points, good luck because Will Johnson, he's clamps. But their defense for the run game isn't the same. And they just lost Walter Nolan this past week too. High draft pick this season. They just don't have much going for them. No reason to really try and stop the Chase Brown machine. I just think the game script and the talent he's playing against. I like Chase Brown this week. Will you have something to say though?
Yeah, you don't need to sneak in inside jokes into this one right now, dude. You don't. You don't. Yeah, you don't need to do that. He just made that comment because Will Johnson was clamping up Drake London, and Drake London scored me 5 points at my semifinal game yesterday, and I lost. So and I kept saying, "Wow, Will Johnson's putting clamps on him." But I mean, you're talking to a Will Johnson stan. You're talking to a guy who thought he should have been a top 10 pick. So I'm not. Drake London just looked a tad slow. It's the knee injury, dude.
My bad. That was low of me.
That was a low blow. That went right over the viewers' heads. Okay, that was a low blow. That wasn't necessary at all. Did you even get into Jonathan Taylor? I was so
no, not yet.
Okay,
But there's a couple things going on with this Jonathan Taylor pick. One, Jacksonville great against the run. The last time the Jacksonville and Indianapolis played, Jonathan Taylor didn't have very many points. I think it was under 15 for him. That was one of the rare ones early on this season that he didn't go off. Also am playing against him in the championship, so just really hoping I'm right here. But again, that Jacksonville defense has been playing super well. They, with the exception of the big play from Harvey, where he broke a few tackles, it wasn't kind of that traditional big run. It was, it felt a little weird to be honest, but they still showed, how strong of a team they are, how strong of a defense they are. And I don't think that Jonathan Taylor has, maybe similar to some of the other guys we're talking, which is crazy to say about the Colts at this point, but is Jonathan Taylor next week going to be in that position where just needs to get to the end of the season healthy, not really much to play for with how it's going? That may be yet to be determined, but don't like the environment for JT this week.
Yeah, touching back on the Chase Brown, you might have said this, but you threw off my whole fucking vibe there. I mean, Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson just tore up that Cardinals defense. You might have said that, but true. Love that pick of Chase Brown. Big Chase Brown fan. Product of environment all you want. He scores fantasy points. That's all he does. He scores fantasy points. All right, let's go ahead and move into my guys. Why it was interesting, Ryan went with Jaylen Warren. Not saying that Jaylen Warren can't be a good game. I think it's a good pick, but I went with Kenneth Gainwell in this one, and then my dud is Josh Jacobs, and we'll kick it off with Gainwell. Over his last 5 games, 6 receptions per game for 48 yards. That's just 10 points right there, like on average. Like that's pretty damn good. He's got 4 touchdowns in that mix as well, and he's balling. And I think it's going to be the same way with this Cleveland defense. And you're talking about DK Metcalf being out. I think this guy has the most receptions on their team. Like he's going to be utilized a lot in this passing game. I think, like you said, limiting Myles Garrett as much as you possibly can, checking down the ball. He is their check down guy. Jaylen Warren definitely does get a few, but I think that it's going to be a lot of kind of Gainwell passes in this one, a lot of check downs. I think majority of those will be going to Gainwell, on top of the fact that in his, he does get limited attempts in the rushing game, but he averages 5 yards per carry. That's just an extra 5 points just waiting to sit there. If he can get the ball 10 times, 50 rushing yards right there, you're looking at a 15, 16-point guy, which he's been consistently putting up over the past few weeks. So I like the Warren play. I also like the kind of Gainwell play on my end. And then dud for Josh Jacobs. I think the injury, he just doesn't look right. He just doesn't look right now. And Emmanuel Wilson's running the ball well. I think this could be one of those games where they go into Baltimore and they're trying to, I think they're going to win this one in Baltimore, the Green Bay Packers, but I think they're going to try and do that without expensing Josh Jacobs as much as they possibly can, because that's somebody they're really going to want to rely on come postseason time. He didn't look right against the Bears. That knee is really bothering him. He might even be out. I'm not sure. After his fumble, though, in the red zone, I don't think he played another snap. And his
for the onside. I think he was there.
He was out there he was on there.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so then there you have it. I think this is going to be another week where we're going to see maybe a lot more Emmanuel Wilson snaps, and this is supposed to be a reliable top 10 running back guy. If you have Josh Jacobs, I'd be very cautious about it this week. If you maybe got him in a flex spot, I'd maybe lean somewhere else. If you have no choice but to play him, best of luck to you.
Yeah,
let's go ahead.
I like that Gainwell take. Just because,
you like it?
especially the wide receiver 1, like I could see that as like a wide receiver 1 de facto for this week, because also we just know how much Arthur Smith loves his running backs, right? I mean, Atlanta, they had Bijan and Algier going. They were both fantasy relevant for a little bit there. That's when they had Drake London and Kyle Pitts too. Steelers don't have anybody else, so I definitely like the Gainwell Warren play this week.
Love it. I love it. Oh, Lucas, you look like you had something to say. We'll go ahead.
Yeah, it was just going to be a snarky little comment about I don't think both of you guys are hitting on your stud running backs, and so that opens the door for Percentage King here to take the victory this week. But
they would have both hit this week. They would have. I think Warren had 31, Gainwell had 22 this week. So
low sample size over there, doesn't even count.
Let's go ahead and get to the wide receivers, Ryan. You got your stud, CeeDee Lamb, and your dud, Jameson Williams, and it makes me sad, man. It makes me really sad that you have JMO as your dud, but go ahead and explain it.
Yeah, I mean, Jameson Williams going against Minnesota, I think I speak really highly of Brian Flores, I feel like every week at this point. I think his scheme is very, very tough, especially a guy like Jared Goff. I think it's going to make him throw the ball quick. I mean, that's kind of what Flores does. He blitzes you up, makes you throw the ball pretty quickly. I think in the quick game, it's more of Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's more Jahmyr Gibbs. Jameson Williams is more of that deep threat, more of the guy that you throw to when you have all day in the pocket and you have time to rip that over the middle ball or that deep ball. And I mean, just kind of checking his games too, because obviously they've played a lot. Jameson Williams has never really had a good game against Minnesota. He's only averaging 9 fantasy points a game in their 5 matchups that he's played against them. So I think that kind of plays into what I'm talking about with just the quick game. And obviously the Lions need to win this one, so they can't be like experimenting or running some weird trick plays or anything. They're going to be going to the bread and butter. And I think the bread and butter is Jahmyr Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown. So I'd expect another dud from JMO this week. Not another dud, he's been incredible, but another dud against Minnesota. And then for my stud, CeeDee Lamb, he has like a dream matchup here. Washington's defense been targeting them all year, really. I think this is one of those games where, Lucas kind of presented it in that first one he was talking about where, 2 teams that don't really care, and it could be explosive because of that. I mean, both of these teams have sort of packed it in more or less. I think Dallas is going to be playing for stats. However, I mean, they don't really need to tank because they have most of their roster set already. So I think Dak's going to use this opportunity to kind of pad his boys' stats, pad George Pickens' stats. He's also probably a pretty good play this week. He's going to pad CeeDee Lamb stats. And I think CeeDee Lamb's has had a couple average games these last few weeks. So I could see this being like the real breakout, so to speak, especially in prime time, Christmas Day. So I could see one last kind of big week from the Cowboys players before they officially give up.
Yeah, I want to touch on that CeeDee Lamb because I feel like every championship year rolls around and somebody just always puts on that performance and you got a kind of a dud slate. You know, when the NFL was cooking up this Christmas slate, they were probably like, oh, yeah, this is going to be amazing. You know, Lions and Vikings, two teams who went neck and neck in the NFC North last year. Cowboys and Commanders, two teams who could very well be coming out on top of the NFC East right there with the Eagles. And then Broncos and Chiefs. They were probably watering at the mouth about that one. And it's just honestly now a horrible slate. But somebody always balls on Christmas Day and puts up an insane fantasy performance. You think about Kamara just a few years ago against the Vikings. And I think this is going to be the guy. I love this take. It's just a perfect storm. I think you nailed it on the head with the numbers, everything. It's just perfect storm. CeeDee Lamb's going to ball. Don't like the Jameson Williams take a little bit, but the reasoning that I would say is the exact same reasoning that I would have, presented for the Pittsburgh Steelers, why I thought he was going to go off against the Pittsburgh Steelers, older, slower secondary. And Mike Tomlin just drew up probably one of the better defensive game plans I've probably seen all year. They couldn't get anything going in the run game. Goff was forced to get the ball out quick and not hold the ball too long because he knew how explosive Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown could be. J-Mo still finished with 12, but not the game that I thought he was going to have. And if Brian Flores is just as smart as Mike Tomlin defensively, so I could very well see it being that way, but I don't like it. Just that's just my 2 cents, but there's a very good chance you could be correct because it was last week. Any thoughts, Lucas? Anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, CD, I like the story around CD. Like you said, it kind of gives that Kamara fantasy playoffs, that star player doing star player things. Like it feels like the story is already written there. So I'm excited to see 88 put up 44 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like with fantasy, man, with like how much goes into it, storylines are everything. Like, it's when you get down into the nitty gritty of this, like it's all luck. Like we're just throwing a team together. Like these dudes, that's why we're trying to play game script into it and everything. Like when we're throwing out our studs and duds, the script is going into it. Like it plays a factor
too, right? Players are playing for their bonuses and their contracts. You start to see those tweets from like Adam Schefter. This guy needs 3 catches for 500,000. It's like it's that time of the year.
It's crazy that these dudes are out here sometimes like playing for $1 million.
Yeah.
I love it. Lucas, let's get into your guys. You're rolling with JSN, and your dud is Rashee Rice. Get into
it. Yeah. Wide receiver 1, going to be a stud. Maybe not the boldest take, but I do think that he is going to go above his projections. And really it has to do with his opponent, the Carolina Panthers. I think, going back to what we've been talking about, championship weekend, week 17, we'll see what the game script ends up being. We'll see who cares, who doesn't, who plays a full game, who doesn't. Both of these teams have so much on the line right now. And so this has just got to be a slugfest. Bryce Young has so much to prove. Sam Darnold has so much to prove. These offenses as a whole, these teams as a whole, like I know that the record is bigger than you would expect for 2 current division leaders, 2 playoff teams. Like, Seattle's certainly going to be favored as they should. But, man, this is going to be one heck of a game. Carolina shows up when they need to. I think they play down to their competition at times as well, which is why, they're the team that they are. But JSN just continuing to be that standalone number 1 target, no competition, no real competition as far as pass catchers go, volume-wise, put up basically a 20-point half. We'll toss it overtime there as well. That was maybe a little important, but monster second half to the game against the Rams in a very similar situation. Both teams playing for so much, and that's when the stars come out. So Nothing really like particularly matchup wise that I love. I think the fact that Carolina doesn't get too many pressures, too many sacks, obviously helps Darnold, who's prone to the turnovers, and that's the last thing you want to see when you want to see that ball end up in JSN's hands. But I'm excited for what could be a all-time performance here. And the dud, I struggled with this one. I maybe again not the deepest or hottest take here. But with Rashee Rice, it's disappointing because you knew when you're buying him or when you're drafting him or holding on to him that you're going to miss some weeks because of the suspension coming into the year. But if him and Patrick Mahomes and that Kansas City Chiefs offense just hang around and then turn on the Jets after he comes back, the sky, was supposed to be the limit. And for a couple weeks, it really looked like that was the case. Scoring touchdowns, getting the double-digit targets. He was that true wide receiver one in that Hall of Fame-led, Hall of Fame-directed offense. But times have changed. That's not the offense that he's in. That's not the player that he's been the past couple of weeks. Because of that, the Chiefs aren't the Chiefs that we've become so accustomed to seeing. And going against that division opponent, we talked about Denver defense just probably gonna stomp the couple backups that may be brewing for Kansas City here. It's unfortunate, but I've got Rashee Rice on my bench right now, and I would not feel confident if I had to put him up there.
Yeah, I obviously think you nailed it on the head with Rashee Rice. It's one of those scary situations where it's like, this is such a good player, but like I talked about, like I think about like with Justin Jefferson this year. Like, Are you going to bench Justin Jefferson? I mean, I've been in a similar situation the last few weeks. Like, am I going to bench Lamar Jackson? Like, it's just like one of those guys where it's like tough to leave out of your lineup, but just nothing is going their way, and it feels like at the end of the day, it's almost just going to cost you fantasy wise. And it's funny with the I almost was debating like JSN for my dud just because of like you talking about like Carolina and just not necessarily dud, but like relative to like what JSN is normally putting up. And they've held receivers, a decent amount in check over the last few weeks, I would say. A couple of times, Puka didn't hit his projections against Carolina, still went out there and had a good game. I think he scored like 16 points, but relative to like what Puka Nacua is normally doing, Mike Evans just last week was Ryan's dud. But I just feel like you nailed it on the head with like, and there was a reason that I kind of came down from that is like, there is so much on the line. Carolina does play well, and the JC Horn thing kind of played into me a little bit. He's been having a phenomenal season, but at the end of the day, I just think it's hard to bet against JSN getting his. So yeah, I think he has a good game.
Yeah, you're swinging for the fences on that one, though, because to be in the green, he's probably projected, 22, 23 points. So he's going to have 30. A monster one. Oh, yeah. And I like that Rashee Rice pick.
Let's go ahead and move into my wide receivers. And I'm rolling with Chris Olave here in my dud, Tet McMillan. Going on the opposite end of the Carolina and Seattle spectrum there. With Chris Olave, kind of similar to what I said with Trevor Lawrence. If you're in the championship, there's a good chance, and you have Chris Olave on your roster, it's a good chance because he just is that guy. Tyler Shuck's out there throwing the ball 40 times a game. Kellen Moore does not slow down that offense in any way, shape, or form. He got a late touchdown when they were up like 15 points on the Jets from Taysom Hill. They love throwing him the ball. I think he's just going to score a lot of fantasy points. Just been a reliable guy. A great season, honestly, as an Olave owner. Like, that was one of my probably like 9th, 10th round pick, maybe a little earlier, like 8th. Didn't expect too much, just like a 10 point, 11 point, 13 point guy. And he's been above and beyond the expectations. It seems like his talent's really starting to show this year. Shuck delivering him some good balls. It's been nice. And I feel like that's just a guy who's going to keep that going. And then with Tet McMillan, I just feel like this is a matchup nightmare for Tet, really. I mean, we're talking about Seattle secondary, who's just full of 6'1", 6'2", 6'4", 6'3" guys. Kobe Bryant, 6'1", Tariq Woolen, 6'4", Nicky Manwari, 6'3". And I feel like we talked about those like valuable targets, and we know that Tet hasn't really seen a whole lot of them, and their offense has been getting a little hot over the last few weeks, but I don't see Tet having any success against this defense this week. He's not going to have some 5'10" cornerbacks to be feasting on. He's got some big boys that he's going to have to go up against, some very athletic freaks, and I feel like that's just kind of Tet's game, I think that's what he was drafted to be, this tall, athletic receiver. He wasn't the greatest route runner at Arizona, still smooth and silky, but he's got those guys that can go neck and neck with him the whole way on the other side of the ball. Seattle's got a great defense. I don't see Tet having a big week this week.
Yeah, I love those picks. Those are two certified locks in my opinion. It's like two layups.
Oh,
Chalk it up, 2 for 2 right now. Like you said,
layups.
Tet can't separate. I don't think that's a good matchup. And then I think Shuck is playing really good ball. I mean, he's slinging it around. He's going to put up another 300-yard passing game, I think. So, and Olave is the main recipient of that.
Yeah, Shuck, I'm super happy with. Like, he got a lot of hate for being an older quarterback coming in, but I mean, shows a lot of similarities in numbers and kind of narrative to Bo Nix. Very different situations, very different teams and positions, but I mean, just a guy who's got the experience and can come in and get it to your stars. So I was a longtime Olave owner and traded him off, last season, but I'm really happy to see him finally having a quarterback who can get him that production and, maintain it, stay healthy throughout a season. It's been great to see.
Yeah, 100%. I think Shuck got a lot of hate just early on as well, just like when he started, because he got the Rams. And I didn't think his Rams tape was all that bad. Honestly, I thought he really kind of started to turn a corner, and then he threw a horrible pick in the fourth. But I've been loving what I'm seeing from that offense. I think it's going to be interesting to see what pans out for the New Orleans Saints. Are they going to be in a position to maybe draft one of these top quarterbacks coming out of this year's class? Do they ride it with Shuck? Who knows? But as of right now, I love it for fantasy production. That's all I got to say. Let's go ahead and get into the tight ends. Ryan, me and you are going to be colliding heads here in a little bit. You got Trey McBride as your stud. Little moonshot there, little moonshot. And then you got Kyle Pitts as your dud. Let's hear it.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of layups, Trey McBride against the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, I feel like that's as easy as it gets. The Bengals are the worst team against tight ends. I feel like they're probably the worst team against a lot of positions, but tight ends, they definitely were dead worst. And I think Jacoby Brissett's just slinging that thing around right now. I mean, he's attempting the 30 to 40 to 50 passes a game. I don't expect that to stop. They don't really have a run game. Cincinnati is one of the worst pass defenses, so just keep the ball in the air. Neither team really playing for much, so it's just going to be like kind of pickup football style, not much hitting, not much, exotic looks or anything like that. Just going to be straight up football. And I think Trey McBride's probably playing for a lot of like record book type of numbers just with the season he's had, right? I mean, I think he's closing in on the reception record for tight end. I saw that last week. They showed a graphic where he's like 20 away from Zach Ertz, I believe. And then the single season receiving tight end record as well. I think he's about 300 yards off that. So I definitely think Trey McBride's playing for a lot of numbers, playing for the history books. And I think coming off a dud, this is going to be a perfect, get right game for Trey McBride. And then the dud, Kyle Pitts. I mean, I'm a big Kyle Pitts guy, but that's because I know his full history and I know that he's the ultimate guy that when you believe in him, he lets you down every time. It's like every time you're there with him, you're looking at his numbers. You want to trade that late first, that early second for him because you think this is the year he's going to break out, or he's put up a good stretch and he's finally found it. That's when he lets you down the most. And I just think that this is a difficult matchup for him. Difficult matchup, not even for him specifically, but mostly for Kirk Cousins. I think Kirk Cousins is the reason why Kyle Pitts is doing what he's doing, because obviously he's a very smart pocket passing quarterback. But I think a lot of what he does is because, or a lot of what he's done is because of the bad defenses he's played. He always goes off against the Bucs. We know that. And then last week playing the Cardinals, I believe. So this week it's going to be completely different. The Rams are playing for the division. They're playing for playoff seeding. They're not going to let Kirk Cousins, throw the ball, unpressured 40 to 50 times like the other teams have. And Kirk Cousins obviously hasn't been the same quarterback post Achilles. He never could really move, but he really can't move now. And I think his arm strength's going. He kind of reminds me a bit of Phillip Rivers in a lot of ways. So I think he's going to get pressured up by the Rams, and it's not going to be a pretty sight for Atlanta. And also I think Drake London's probably going to have a bad game this week. So I just think Kyle Pitts is going to come back to earth.
Come back to earth. I understand it. I got Kyle Pitts as my stud, not to break any news, but we'll get into it. We'll get into it in just a little bit. All right. So I don't need to comment.
I do like the Trey McBride pick a lot, though. Jacoby Brissett was very close to being my stud quarterback for the week, and he really put up his first down week since he took over that starting gig last week, scored about 14
Yeah.
points, and he's been 20 plus every week since. And that Cincinnati defense, man, like Ryan said, especially against the tight end position, is historically bad. So Trey McBride is so damn good at what he does, and Brissett's just been feeding him the ball. So that one might break some of those records this next game here. He's a monster.
Yeah, true. It's funny because when I was earlier this year in the offseason, I made a video about like game of the week. Like every week, I went through every single week, and I was like, "This is the game that you need to watch." And it was the Bengals versus the Cardinals for this week. In my head, I explained it like, "Oh, this is probably going to be two teams that have like a 15% chance at making the playoffs. Both of them, I thought the Cardinals were going to be a lot better. I was like, they're going to go out there and they're going to hang 40 on each other's heads." And so yeah, I'm all for this. I think we got one of those games at our hands. 34-30 final. I'm all for it. And I love the McBride pick. Tight ends have destroyed them all year. They've actually been, over the last few weeks, better against wide receivers, but tight ends, they have no answer for the tight end position in any way, shape, or form. Lucas, you're rolling with George Kittle and Hunter Henry. A couple of 85s. Get into it.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think a little bit of the, hedging my emotions here with the George Kittle. If he goes off, then the Bears probably won't be looking too hot. But if he doesn't do too well, then that probably plays well for my Bears. But George Kittle is just, the prototypical, the standard really for the position, man. He does everything so well. He's in the great offense with the 49ers, and all of this has been true for a while now here. So really just like the matchup against my Bears, unfortunately, our linebackers have been really solid, but not necessarily like strong pass defenders. And while we haven't been super torched by any tight ends this year that come to mind, I know Ferguson put up a good amount of points, but that was on a buttload of receptions when CeeDee Lamb went out. Other than that, we haven't really been torched by any particular tight end. And so I think Kittle's going to have a solid game. Just, it's going to be a solid game. First of all, I don't expect it to be low scoring. San Francisco has their defensive problems and that strong offense. And we, of course, have our defensive problems as well. So the position, the environment around the game, both playoff teams, both with a chance at the 1 seed, actually, surprisingly, with San Francisco, I believe, rounding out against Seattle that last week. So we both really want to badly win this game. And Kittle he's a Bear fan, so maybe he treats us nicely, but a Bear fan at heart, I should say. But I think he's going to bring his best. And then Hunter Henry, he's just always surprised me at how he ends up. He is like the classic surprise. Hunter Henry's a top 10 tight end at the end of the year, where he gets enough targets, especially when the Patriots were bad and didn't have as much of an identity as they do now. Like he was just low-key the number one target and getting all the touchdowns. And he had a touchdown this past game as well. I think it just goes kind of the flip side. We've talked a lot about the positive matchups where, people are going to be playing their best. They want it. This one, I think it might be bench your starters at half type of game. Drake May, I'm nervous to put him in my lineup. I don't know that I will be as a starting quarterback, because I think if he gets 2 touchdowns early, or the team gets 2 touchdowns early, they may just, call it in against the Jets there. So we'll see. I just don't see that being a super high volume, high productive opportunity for Hunter Henry. And he's chronically underrated because of what I said earlier. So here's me doing my part for that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you wholeheartedly. They got the Jets this week.
Jets.
Yeah. Oh boy. Drake might not play another snap this season after that. Because if they beat the Jets, that seals the deal on the division. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think that seals the deal.
That's 3 straight weeks, by the way, of George Kittle stud picks. I mean, that guy should be our MVP. And like you said, I don't think like you said, the Bears haven't been bad against tight ends, but I can't really think of a team that we've played where like a tight end's been their number one option, really. So
Fannin,
that's probably.
But Fannin, he didn't have. He got 14 targets, saw 7. Like that was their guy. Maybe Isaiah Bond had more total points because of the 2 big deep balls, but I know Fannin caught 7 passes for like 40 yards. Wasn't a whole lot. It was just like that guy. Let's go ahead and get into my guys. I'm rolling with Kyle Pitts as my stud. So one of me or Ryan is going to be wrong this week. and I'm rolling with Dallas Goedert as my dud. We'll start off with my dud. Dallas Goedert against the Bills defense is going to be my third straight week of the playoffs picking the tight end against the Bills defense. And last week I picked Harold Fannin, and I was wrong. Harold Fannin is, on the other hand, a lot more athletic than Dallas Goedert was. I kind of played into the game script a little bit there. He's been one of their only bright spots offensively outside of Quinshon Judkins. And I thought that the Bills were going to really try to eliminate him from their game plan as much as they can defensively. They just didn't do it. You know, he is a freak of nature. He's very athletic, and he had a really good game. Dallas Goedert, on the other hand, not extremely athletic, and he has been a main reason for the Eagles' somewhat successful offense over the last few weeks. If the Bills are smart in any way, shape, or form, they really need to be looking towards shutting him down, and they've been great at doing that all year long against tight ends. He's not some insane freak anymore. He's getting up there in age. I expect this to be a major dud for somebody who's probably going to be in your lineup with the way he's been playing. I would be a little bit worried about starting him. And then with Kyle Pitts, I watched a lot, pretty much damn near that entire Atlanta game, and the Cardinals defense was getting after Kirk Cousins a decent amount. When he was getting the ball out quick, though, it was going straight to Kyle Pitts' hands. Regardless of that, the Rams are going to be getting after Kirk Cousins. And I think that ball's coming out, it's going to be going to Kyle Pitts' hands. That's a big reason of why I was worried about Drake London is Drake London saw some pretty bad targets. They were just like ball out quick. We're throwing a one-on-one go ball on the sideline. But Kyle Pitts was smoking the linebackers, very athletic unit in Arizona as well. And he was getting open quick. Kirk was getting the ball out quick. I expect him to have like another 17-point game. And it's strictly just based off of Kirk Cousins is going to need to get the ball out of his hands fast. And he's going to hit the athletic tight end who's coming across the middle against the linebacker. That's it.
All right.
That's it. That's all there is to
I do
it.
want to remind everybody this guy is 1 for 8 this week. So,
Well, hold on. What's Purdy doing? Hold on. I could be 2 for 8. I'm 1 for 7
sorry.
technically right now. What's Brock Purdy doing?
He threw another touchdown to Kittle. I know that.
Ooh.
So
That
did
puts
you
me
just
on the
take my
board.
scoring
How about
record
Kittle?
live on the show?
I sure did. Yeah, Purdy's got 21 points, 165 yards, and 3 touchdowns at half.
All right,
And I
2 for 8.
benched. Okay, let's do the math, Lucas. Oh no, I don't think. I mean, I was over. I had to play Lamar last night. We'll do this after the show. But Purdy's balling. I'm 2 for 8. Take that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another Dynasty episode. This is Championship Week. I want to come back next week, maybe like a little award show, a little fun one. We'll see. We'll talk with the guys. We'll maybe hand out some fantasy awards for the season. But overall, hope you guys win your championship battles this weekend. If you're watching, if you're not in the championship, thanks for watching. Don't know why you're here. Sucks to suck. But best of luck to you guys next year. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.